Hello there, my beautiful pumpkins, and welcome back to the pumpkin patch. If you are new here, hello. My name is Kloee Taylor, and on this channel, I believe we have one of the most cozy, vibey, autumnal corners of the internet. So if you like the way that I read, you like my style, and you want to be a part of the pumpkin patch, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel, and you get new content every single week. So my beautiful pumpkins, today I'm so thrilled. This video, or this pick a card, it really came to me in, like, I've had this sticky note sitting on my desk for almost a week of what I wanted to create for this reading. And I've just been really sitting with it because, as many of you might know, if you listen to my last sit down video, or if you listen to my podcast, I've been going through just a major evolution of self over the last, it's been, I think we're encroaching on a 4th week here pretty soon. And I just realized, it takes a lot to get to that point where you finally are dedicating yourself to habits. You're changing your life. And I really wanted to bring spirit in here and just see if you're feeling like you're stuck right now, if you're feeling like you're lost, if you just want change, if you want something different to transpire in your life. And if there's anybody, I encourage you, if there's anybody in your life right now that you know that is having a hard time, that is stuck or feels very stuck, send this video to them. Let them pick their own pile, because I'm really setting the intention that anybody that is feeling these feelings will see this video, and it's going to give you the answers from spirit that you need on how to move forward and how to progress and what needs to happen. So we're going to be doing that, and I'll just tell you which pile is which, and so you know what to choose from the timestamps. Or also note that you can never choose wrong. It's okay to choose more than one pile. Some people even like to listen to the entire video and then decide which one suited them best. There is no wrong way to do this, but pile number 1, you have Ask Body. Pile number 2, you have Take Risk, and pile number 3, you have The Void. So let those symbols be a message to you, the imagery on the cards, the words, or maybe you just already knew 1, 2, or 3 was going to be for you. So I ask that you use your intuition with this. And after each pile, I am going to be doing a little bit of book divination for you, just to further assist you with what you're needing right now. And we're going to be reading from the Book of Lights by Alexandra Solando, I think is how you say that. So you'll see what I mean when we get to the end of the reading. I haven't done a good book divination for a while, but y'all, it is September where I live, in the hemisphere I live. This is our final descent into the true autumnal months of the year. And I just feel like it is a cozy book reading month. I've got some tea here as well, some raspberry tea that I'll be sipping on, and we're just gonna sit here and get into this. And I'm so excited. I can't wait for you to receive these hopefully very inspiring messages that are going to really help you transform. So I'm gonna go ahead and be quiet and give you some time with these cards to sit with them and decide which one's for you. You can head to the timestamps in the description or in the top pinned comment, and let's get into it. All right, pile number 1. So for you, we have, and I will link all the decks I use down below. This deck actually came from one of y'all, and it came from Sky and Cozy Ellis. So thank you so much for gifting me this deck from my wish list. It's the Hocus Pocus deck, but I will also link all the decks that I use down below if you would like them. But for you, pile number 1, we have the Knight of Candles, the 5 of Lightning, the 10 of Candles, the Star, and the 3 of Lightning. So right off the bat, what this is telling me is currently you are feeling like you are stuck in a cycle of breaking your own heart, taking on too much, self-sabotaging. And the thing is, number 1, pile number 1, I want you to know that it's okay. I feel like you are harboring a lot of self-shame and you feel really guilty for self-sabotage. You feel really guilty for biting off more than you can chew. You feel really guilty and you feel like you're stuck in this cycle where you keep hurting yourself over and over and over. Or some of you are also experiencing shame from others when you have tried to make change in your life and you're not feeling supported in the things that you're trying to do. So you keep trying harder. And the thing with this is, number 1, I'll be the first person to tell you that sometimes other people putting you down can be extremely motivating, right? It can be the thing that lights fire under our butt and makes us persevere and go forward because we want to prove them wrong. But the thing is, Spirit is saying with the Star card, that's not who you are. That's not authentically you. That's not the thing that is truly going to make what you're doing extremely satisfying. Because with the Knight of Candles here, you have so much passion and so much fire within you that wants to literally burn so incredibly bright. And with the Star being paired with this is incredible. You have true potential, true gifts, and Spirit is literally wants to like shake you. Like you have such potential. You have so much within you that you like, this is literally like the light dispersing out of you, that you have this potential, you have the momentum, you have the steam, you have what it takes. And you're letting these outside influences of others dictate how you'll behave. And unfortunately, it's completely normal. I really want to assure you that this is something that many people deal with. You're not alone in this. And even if we take this back on a psychological note, we know that as humans, we need each other to survive and thrive. That has been the thing since the beginning of time. Like humans, I mean, other animals as well, but humans, we have needed community and tribe to survive. And the thing is that our monkey brain will tell us, oh no, if this person doesn't approve of me, I will be abandoned and there's something wrong with me. And this can come in as a true abandonment wound when we want other people to notice what we're doing, when we want other people to celebrate us, when we want, and again, I'm not trying to say that wanting to be celebrated, I'm also a firm believer that when you are doing something great, your tribe, your village, your people, your soul family, they should be clapping as loudly as possible. That's how you know you have a good bunch around you and that you're surrounded by the right people. Is when you decide you want to implement something new, they don't just shit on you immediately. And so Spirit is saying that, number 1, your potential is immaculate. Your creativity is immaculate. Your authenticity is present. However, you keep getting stifled by outside influence. And there's also something here about taking on too much because of that. Like you don't let yourself do things in increments. You don't let yourself do things slowly. With this 10 of Wands, I can see that you try to do everything all at once. Like, let's say, for example, you want to, I'm trying to think of something that like I would do. Like y'all know I give personal examples a lot to try to help. Okay. Like writing a book. Okay. Every time I have sat down to try to write a book, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to finish this book in a month. And it's just going to be like ready for publication. And like, I need to write X amount of words per day. And like, that's how I'm going to get to my book at the end of this month. And there's like the first draft, right? Don't get me wrong. I think this can be a very valuable practice to do something like that. However, let's say I miss day 5, 6, 7, and suddenly I'm off track and, I'm having like mental health problems that day, or I'm not taking care of myself or putting my own needs first. And all of a sudden now I'm in this shame cycle of I fail at everything I start. Why am I even trying? And the thing is that it's too much too fast. And it's okay to say, hey, I'm going to write 200 words a day, and it takes as long as it takes. There's no need to rush to get this like 500-page manuscript out. And granted, if you have the inspiration, maybe one day you write 1,000 words, but it's okay to also write 100 words. It's okay to write one sentence. It's okay to, if you're trying to like start working out, start a new routine for yourself, it's okay to start with walking. Maybe you don't go all the way around the block today. Maybe you go down one street and come back, and you don't go all 4 streets. You don't go around the whole square to get your exercise in. You decide to do something little first. And from there, when that one street starts to feel easy, then you can start adding. When those 100 words start to feel easy, then maybe you can up it a little bit to 200 words or 300 words. That's kind of the energy that I'm getting here, is that there's so much potential, there's so much passion, there's so much fire, but you keep burning your candle all the way down. You keep snuffing yourself out. And on top of that, even if it's not real, even if people aren't actually putting you down, you might be somebody that just puts really high expectation on how other people are going to perceive you. And this, again, is very common, how other people are going to perceive you. And so if you don't meet your own standard, you're thinking everybody else also thinks that you're a failure, even if they don't. And I feel like there's something very innately social about what's going on for you. There is something very innately social, and Spirit is saying that in order to get clear right now, you need to bring more love into the situation, which we're going to talk about these a little more in depth. I just want to set them out first. You need to bring more love into the situation with this new moon in Aquarius. Have faith in your dreams. And the end of a tough cycle approaches. So, number one, when we talk about bringing love into the situation, Aquarius is also the sign of authenticity. That's like their whole thing, is being out there and weird and not really caring what other people think about that. And so, number one, if you're dealing with a lot of social pressure, a lot of societal pressure, Spirit is saying you need to start giving back to yourself. And this, I'm not trying to just like self promo here. I genuinely think if you chose this pile, this will help. I'm going to highly encourage that you go back and listen to my last video episode that got put out. Or if you don't want to watch the video, my podcast, Divine Authenticity, I think it was like 2 episodes back, 1 or 2 episodes back. Actually, I could probably tell you exactly which episode it is, because I just had my editor go through and help me with this right now. So if you go back to episode 93 of my podcast, Divine Authenticity, it's called I Manifested My Dream Life and It Broke My Own Heart. In this video, it's a video and it's a podcast, but whichever format you want to listen to it in, I actually break down for you my morning and evening routine and how I've been reclaiming my own energy and giving back to myself as a recovering chronic people pleaser. And I really believe that even if you don't follow that routine to a T, because my routine isn't going to work for everybody, I really do believe, though, if you take a few of those tips, that could really assist you in helping yourself to reclaim your own space, because you have this beautiful light and you're letting it bleed out of you to all the wrong places, not in the work that you create. You have great creativity in the things that you do, but you're letting it bleed out of you and you're spending too much time worrying about what other people think of you. And I really do believe that if you start to bring it back to yourself and build your own self-esteem, build your own confidence, because confidence is an inside job. I don't care what anybody says. Like, you can make your life look as perfect as you want on the outside, but confidence is an inside job. You can have everything in this lifetime that you've ever dreamt of, and you could be miserable on the inside. So, confidence, high self esteem, those are inside jobs. So, you have to go in order to let that reflect out appropriately. And that's really what you're needing right now. And then we have faith in your dreams. So, this is literally just a message from spirit that if you've been feeling like your dreams are not possible, if you've been feeling like you can't have something or you shouldn't want something, spirit is saying that you need to have a little bit more faith in the dreams that you have for yourself, because the reason that that desire is upon you, is in your heart, is because you are the right person to carry it out. And I will stress this until the day that I die. Like, following what lights you up on the inside is the most important thing you will do in this lifetime. Because when you actually follow what lights you up, not only do you accomplish the things that you want to, but they make you feel the best. They are part of your life's purpose. And I know this because let's think about that. If somebody goes to medical school to become a doctor because they just want the money, not to say that they can't become a good doctor, but riddle me this. Would you rather have a doctor operating on you if they went to school for the money? Or would you rather, well, I mean, also, don't even get me started on like the crippling debt you have to go into just to become, like, we don't even need to have that conversation, but like, oh, Chile. Or would you rather have a doctor that went into the medical field because they love people and they want to help them heal? I personally would rather have the healer doctor, because they are going to do their job with such compassion, with such empathy, because they actually care. And if you put that lens on anything you do in this lifetime, it will change your life. I promise. 6 months from now, if you start looking at your life with that lens, your life will be dramatically different. You need to start following what lights you up on the inside, what makes you feel like the most authentic version of you. And if you don't know what that version of yourself is, it's time to take a deep dive and learn who you are. And it takes dedication. It takes work. You don't just go to sleep and wake up knowing the person that you are if you feel disconnected from yourself. It takes persistence to learn those things. And the easiest thing that I'm going to tell you as somebody that totally lost themselves for about a year, one of the best ways that I was able to reconnect and find out who I was again and find myself again is I started keeping a list in my phone. Every time I felt joy, every time I felt something like, oh, this is beautiful, or this makes me happy, or I had a moment. Like, for example, this morning, my cat was sitting in my windowsill looking at birds, and I just sat with him. I put my elbows up on the windowsill with him, and I just looked at the birds with him, and I thought, oh, I love you, my baby son. We are just like, it was just such a good, you don't even know how to explain it, but like I was just having a moment. Like I felt really good. It was so pure. And I felt like I was bonding with my cat. Okay. It might sound totally silly and maybe some of y'all are laughing at me, but I don't care. But that is something I would record in my list on my phone. I call it my sense of self list. And so I would write the date in this little note and I would say, watching birds with my cat. That's something that makes me feel good. That's something that makes me happy. That's something that I observed beauty in the world that day. And on my list, I have things like looking at architecture, smelling fall candles, eating sushi, because it's my favorite food, going on walks in nature, like things that genuinely make me really happy. And don't record things that don't make you actually have a bodily reaction. And literally, you got the card Ask Body, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But only when you really feel it in your being, when you're doing something, when you are being and you're feeling it, record those things. And that is how you will start to identify the person that you are. And this also helps because sometimes when we enter like trauma bonds or codependent relationships, which again, a lot of us are guilty of, I am definitely in recovery from a trauma bond and being highly codependent. And I actually have a podcast coming out within the next few weeks about that. But what was I going to say about that? Oh, if, a lot of us have these like bonds with people, and we will start to take the things that they like and make them our likes. And so this exercise actually has the potential to help you separate that. And not that we aren't all connected and we can't like the same things, but sometimes that is something we will do if we're very focused on other. We will start to do things just because somebody else is doing them. Or we'll say that we like things because somebody else is obsessed with them. And though, again, that doesn't mean it can't become your obsession. Sometimes it's just not the true us. And in order to find that, you have to start allowing yourself to accumulate those feelings. And even if it only happens like once a week at first, that's okay. Your list doesn't have to be 1,000 things long. It takes as long as it takes. But that's what I'm going to recommend to you. And then we have the end of a tough cycle approaches, which also tells me that what you're going through, Spirit wants you to know that you're actually, pile one, your evolution isn't going to take 6 months. Your cycle is actually, the end of it is coming. And we actually just had a full moon during Cancer season in Capricorn. So I don't think this is going to take you until Capricorn season. But the other thing I want to say is that this card does not ever come out in my readings for somebody that hasn't fucking gone through it. And you have gone through it. You have gone through the ringer. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that. I want to take a moment to sit with you on that, because I want you to recognize that you have been through it, and it's okay. It's okay if you need to cry about it. It's okay if you need to hug yourself. I would encourage it. It's okay if you need to pat yourself on the back and say, damn, we went through that. We really did. And we came out the other side. But Spirit sees that you have been going through a hard cycle. And even this cycle that you're currently in is difficult. But ultimately, this is coming to a close, and it's truly going to change your life. Then we have for you Ask Body, which I've referenced a little bit ago. We have Ask Body. And we have Sacred Sexuality. I feel like Sacred Sexuality, every time I use this deck, it comes out in one of y'all's readings. But what this says to me is, with Ask Body, the first thing I'm going to say is, do you practice any kind of somatic healing? Because somatic healing techniques are all about bringing yourself into the body. And I was actually just having this conversation with my best friend recently that my best friend was like, it's so crazy that a lot of the practices that sound like they're complicated, or you think you're going to learn something really complex, they're often really easy to do. Somatic body techniques are extremely easy to do. And it's going to be really important for you to get into your body while doing these things. This is why I brought up to you that sense of self exercise, where you don't write things down unless you are feeling present in the body. And if you're somebody that feels like you're really disconnected and you don't know how to connect, something that I'm also going to recommend, especially because you got Sacred Sexuality, Sacred Sexuality to me is very like fire energy. It's very getting the heart rate up. It's moving. It's doing something that gets you into your fire elements. And the reason that this can be really important is sometimes if we're feeling, and please remember that I'm not a therapist. I'm not a licensed therapist. I cannot give diagnoses or anything like that. And I have to say that because every time y'all always tell me, don't say that, Kloee, we know. I understand that y'all know, but for legal reasons, I have to state that. It's very important that nobody take the things that I say as therapeutic advice. Even though I love psychology and I studied for a little bit because I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. And I love bringing psychological stuff into tarot. I think it's actually really beneficial to bring those two together. But what this tells me is with sacred sexuality, it brings out the fire element. And the reason that this is important is, as we're getting the heart rate up, as we're moving the body, this is what gets you into your fire element. If you feel like you are spending too much time in sadness, in depletion, in letting your feelings overwhelm you, or maybe you feel like you're totally zoned out, you're not there at all, getting into the fire elements is going to dramatically help you, because when you're like running or doing some kind of bodily practice, you almost can't help but connect in with the body, because the body is doing so much. You're sweating, your heart rate's up, right? And even if you're practicing sacred sexuality and, even solo or with a partner, when you're practicing that sacred sexuality act, that is a similar thing. Where the heart rate's going up, we are possibly sweating, and it's helping us to connect to our fire. Now, don't get me wrong, I think sometimes these kinds of things can be acted upon and we can still feel zoned out or numb to the experience. This is why, even though I think for some of y'all, sacred sexuality and connecting in that way is going to be important, for some of you, it might feel better just to go out for a walk by yourself, to get out of the house and connect to your body in some way, especially if you can do it in nature. I'm going to highly encourage that. And it's not about, overworking out and making it a toxic habit. It's not about like a weight loss goal or anything like that. What I'm talking about is literally just learning ways to connect with your body, because I feel like your body is maybe feeling a little neglected or not seen. And our body actually stores so much information for us. And we're only newly turning into this when it comes to the realm of psychology and mental health. Notice we call mental health, like up in the mind. We don't call it, I don't even know what you would call it. We don't call it like a whole body approach. We don't call it whole body health. And especially because you got the body here, this just leads me to think that there's more to it. You're not going to be able to just think your way through this stuff. You're going to have to connect to yourself in some new way. Now, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of book divination as a closing message for you. I'm just going to do some of this until we get a random page. Okay, so we have the ego, and this is number 84. And it says, now, this book is written under the context of like channeling Jesus. I personally don't believe in like Christian doctrination for myself, but I still think the messages are very beautiful and I can take them for what they are. So if any of you feel triggered religiously, I totally understand. Don't feel like you have to use God or Jesus or any of those words. Use the words that feel appropriate to you. So 84, the ego. I have always told you that the ego is the worst of all evils. It is the ego that teaches you to want and to fight for things that energetically are not right for you. It is the ego that barks out the cancels and the orders inside your brain. It is the ego that makes you vibrate through restriction and through fear. It is also the ego that surrounds you in a bubble of illusion so that you can truly believe in whatever you wish to believe. That you will be happy and that you should pay no attention to the growing dissatisfaction you feel in your heart. That on the day you receive new clothes, a computer, a new car, a house, that is to say everything you really deserve, you will achieve happiness. And when you grow weary of waiting, the ego convinces you not to give up. It convinces you that you are almost there. Work hard just a little longer. Ignore what you're feeling just a little longer. Keep fighting just a little longer, it tells you. But that little while longer never ends. Yet the ego keeps on insisting that resistance and struggle are the only way forward. It does not allow you to see that resistance and struggle take you nowhere, or worse yet, that they continue to take you energetically down the wrong path. The road ahead is not one of resistance and struggle. You should be traveling in the opposite direction. Acceptance and fruition are the road you should follow. Accept the situation you are in and begin to allow the bow to float so that the current can lead you to safe harbors, and you may then move toward that which awaits you in this incarnation. Wow. I'm just going to let that be a message in and of itself. I think that was really beautiful. They actually didn't reference Jesus or God in that one, but some of them do. So that is what I have for you on how to change your life in 6 months. I think you're actually moving into a direction of more ease, more flow, not such an ego-based way of looking at things. I also feel like, speaking on the ego, even being obsessed with what other people think of you is really just a projection of the ego, because what other people think of you is actually none of your business. And you should focus more on what you think of you is way more important. And that's what I'm going to leave y'all with. I feel like I could speak more, but Spirit is really telling me that like some of y'all have some thinking to do. And I just want to say thank you for tuning in. Please do not forget, when you stand on your own authenticity, you empower everyone around you to do the same. Don't forget to check out my Patreon if you want early access to my videos, weekly energy updates, and now we're also doing workshops every month where we get together and manifest under the new moon, and I talk you through the entire process. And I also give you guidance based on your astrological chart if you're needing that, on what to manifest and how to manifest. So we have another one of those coming up at the end of this month. I would really love to see you there. And if you want to follow my podcast, Divine Authenticity, I would love to have you. We're almost at 100 episodes. And if you feel called to do so, it is never an expectation, but always appreciated. I have my Cashapp, Venmo, and PayPal listed down below. If you would like to leave me a tip or buy me a gift from my wish list, that's there as well. Again, no expectation, but it is certainly always appreciated. And if you would like to book a reading with me, I do have my website, KloeTaylor.com, where you can book private readings with me. And that is all that I have to say. Thank you again so much for tuning in. I love you so much, Pumpkin. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. All right, pile number 2, this is going to be your reading. So we're going to start with some Rider-Waite-Smith cards. And this deck was actually gifted to me by a couple of you, which is so freaking sweet. I just had the little card with me that told me who sent it to me. I said it in pile number 1. So if you sent this deck to me, thank you so much, off of my wish list. It's a Hocus Pocus deck and I'm obsessed. But I also always link all the decks that I use down below. So if you want to get this one for yourself, link is in my description, of course. But for you, pile number 2, what you got to do to up-level your life over the next 6 months and to truly transform if you're feeling stuck. We have for you the Queen of Lightning, the 9 of Potions, the Page of Pumpkins, the 7 of Lightning, and the Page of Candles. So a couple of pages, which is interesting. So Page of Pumpkins, Page of Candles. This to me tells me that, number 1, you need to wait till some ideas and inspiration come to you. You maybe are going through an episode of feeling very like stagnant and like you don't know what you want. Maybe you actually recently manifested a couple of things and now you're like, well, shoot, I don't know what's next now. That is totally normal. That is something that happens to the best of us, especially when you manifest something in your life really major, which some of you I think have. You're like, oh crap, like I manifested the big thing. What do I do now? Spirit is saying you actually do need to wait a little bit for some inspiration. Now, this inspiration isn't going to take 6 months to come to you, but there might be a time to actually let some ideas develop, because the Page of Candles to me tells me that you need to wait until you have a little bit more inspiration. And the Page of Pumpkins tells me that there is also going to be some kind of financial opportunity that you're going to think about, some kind of inspiration that also leads to more financial gain. So something that kind of bridges those two things. For some of you, if you already have an idea, something that you know could help you make a little bit more income, Spirit is saying that it's time for you to start actually manifesting what you want that to look like for you, because the 9 of Potions is just literally a card of having your wishes fulfilled, your wishes granted, your manifestations coming in. And so Spirit is saying with these 2 pages, Number one, you don't need to take a ton of action because pages are not necessarily action-driven cards. They're really more about the beginning stages of something or just starting to get some ideas and get clear on what you want to do before you move forward with these things. So Spirit is actually saying to transform your life, you need to actually sit down with a notebook and a pen. And this might seem like such basic level advice, and I find sometimes the best things often are, but Spirit is saying you need to actually sit down with a pen and a paper and ask yourself, if you woke up 6 months from today, what do you want your day today to look like? Who do you want to be in the morning? How do you want to wake up? And what kinds of routines do you hope to have for yourself? Do you have a certain home you want to be in? Is there a way that your house smells? Is there a feeling that you want to embody? Like, for example, I used to wake up really anxious every single morning. And when I finally started to put these things into place for myself, this is when I got clear on that vision. This is when I actually could start acting as if each morning. And I think we've talked about this many times on my channel now and on my podcast, Divine Authenticity. But, for me, that looks like waking up and putting some eye jellies on, brushing my teeth, making myself breakfast, and doing these things alone, like waking up before everybody else in my house I say it like it's so many people. It's my husband and my 3 cats, but getting up before everybody else in the morning and having some alone time. That is my ideal dream morning, is waking up by myself. And it took me years to get to the point where I started to actually do that and stay dedicated to waking up earlier in the morning and doing what I wanted to do for myself. So here's the thing. And it's funny that this is coming up because in a different way, I don't think the piles are linked. So if you were feeling called to pile number 1, I don't necessarily think it has a link, but in a different way, this is something I covered in a recent video that I put out like 2 videos back. It's also a podcast, episode 93. Where I talked about when you finally get to the thing that you want to manifest, the house, the dream partner, the car, the job, you're not going to be this person that wakes up early and takes care of yourself and like walks your dog for 3 miles. You're not going to be that person unless you act as that person right now, because having the house or the career or the partner isn't going to make you do those things. You're still going to wake up in your home 6 months from now being the person you are today, unless you start to actually make changes. And Spirit is saying that's exactly what needs to happen. Is you need to get clear on, first, I think you don't actually know who you want to be every day and how you want your days to look. It doesn't mean your days have to be cookie cutters of each other, but what in theory do you want your day to day to look like? And start implementing what habits you can right now. Like maybe right now you can't go to your local juicery because spending fucking $8 on a pressed juice every day is just like not feasible for you. That's okay. You can start with your morning coffee at home. You can start by still waking up early and going for a walk, maybe not to the juicery, but do you get what I'm saying? Like you can build on the habits that you want to have right now. You don't have to have the exact dream, but you have to know that when you get to the thing that you desire, the outside thing, you're not going to become the person that you want to be inside unless you start doing it now. And then we also have the Queen of Lightning and the 7 of Lightning, which the 7 of Lightning, this is like the card of self-deception, which is funny because I actually think this is really appropriate. I know we think of deception as this like horrible thing, and it's like, oh, you're deceiving yourself, like it's a pipe dream, it's this. No, actually deceive yourself, Queen. Like, oh my gosh, I actually recently heard this on a TikTok, but also I have my own personal account of how this has worked in my life. And I want to share this with you because I really believe that this is life transformative. And in 6 months from now, I'm not kidding. You will have what it is that you want. Joke yourself into believing it. So this is like such a weird manifestation technique that I wasn't even aware of until I saw the TikTok, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've done that. Like it actually happens. So I've done this a couple of times. One time I did this by going window shopping literally every single day for one summer. And I kept telling myself while I was passing every single store window, I'm rich, I can afford it. I'm rich, I can afford it. I'm rich, I can afford it. Or I would say, it's okay, I'm rich, I can afford it. I just don't really want that thing in particular, but I'm rich and I can afford it. Even if my bank account said like $0. And literally within 2 weeks or less, I was rich and I had a bunch of money and it came in such an unexpected way. That's one example. The other example I want to give you is if you, especially, I'm sorry I keep talking about my podcast. I swear, I know that like, obviously it's my channel and it's my platform. And if I want to like talk about my podcast, that's okay. And most of you will tell me that in the comments, but I'm really not here just trying to make you listen to my podcast. But recently on an episode where I had my husband actually on with me, I actually do have my podcast list on my other monitor right now randomly, so I can tell you which one it was. But I had my husband on episode 91 on the podcast, and I was telling y'all that he is like the luckiest person I know. And we call him God's favorite, not because we believe in like the Christian God, but because we made this up because he's a Sagittarius and Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter. And we always joke that like, oh, Daddy Jupiter, that's our God. Like it's really meant to be more of a joke. We're not being serious. But I would always tell my husband when like good things happen to him, how does it feel to be God's favorite? How does it feel to be God's favorite? And I always joke about this too because I'm a Sagittarius rising. So like we both have these dominant Sagittarius placements in our charts. And honestly, I think it's part of the reason we bond so well. But we would always joke like, oh yeah, you're God's favorite. Of course this would happen for you. Like I'm talking like we would get on the ferry to go somewhere in Washington and we would just end up at the front of the line somehow without trying. We would end up like at the front of the boat. Or like we went to the airport and we got to cut the entire security line just for like no reason. They just let us. And just like things like that. Every time I'm with him, like good things happen. And so we started to joke about it. Oh, it's okay. You're just God's favorite. Like you're so lucky. You're the luckiest person. And it was a joke, but then it was serious. And now not only does he actually believe it, but not like that he's God's favorite, but that he's like really lucky. But I believe it. And now we've like joked ourselves into it being real. Like good things just happen to him. And I kid you not, joke yourself into it. You want to be a multimillionaire? Oh, it's okay. I'm a multimillionaire. It's okay. I'm a multimillionaire. Or, you want to be like really attractive? It's okay. I'm just so hot. I'm just so hot. I'm just so hot. I know it sounds silly. I promise you that it actually does work. And also, I think it's a really good counter to you picking yourself apart. Like if you stand in front of the mirror every day and pick yourself apart, what a great way to transform those moments. What a great way to say, actually, no, I'm just really hot. Look at me. I'm so attractive. Even if you mean it in a joking way, watch it become true. Oh, it's okay. I'm a skinny legend. It's okay. I'm attractive. It's okay. Like, whatever works for you. But I feel like that stuff actually does work. And so deceive yourself, queen or king or person, like deceive yourself, let yourself go into the imagination. What do you have to lose is my point, I guess. What do you have to lose by doing that? And that's something that's actually going to genuinely help you transform your life in the next 6 months. Then we have nothing is yet set in stone with the mutable moon. Communication is key with the new moon in Gemini, and emotions are running high. So in 6 months, I actually feel like this is a good sign. I love this card, the mutable moon, because often we think that our lives are set in stone, that we have to do everything a certain way, that we have to, fill this role all the time. Like, for example, like maybe you call yourself keto or paleo, or maybe you put this label on yourself of, I'm trying to think of something good. I don't know, maybe you're a mom, you're a Twilight mom, okay? But suddenly you're now into fairy corn, if you know what I'm saying. You're into fairy corn now and you're not into Twilight anymore. And you see how maybe the relationships in that storyline are not the best. And you're like, oh no, everybody knows me as a Twi mom, like, or a Twihard, or a, if you've never heard these terms, it's fine. They were from the Twilight era. But it's okay, and I know I'm using a silly example, but it's okay to change your labels or remove any labels that you want to. You don't have to be this person that has no work ethic and is lazy, or is somebody that I'm just throwing things out there, like labels that people tend to put on us that we don't necessarily enjoy or believe. Maybe you tell yourself that you're too much, or you're too sensitive, or you don't have to believe those labels. You can tell yourself that it's okay. I actually don't have to do this. And also, somebody actually told me this yesterday, and it was such a beautiful thing I needed to hear. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your mind. Let's go with the keto thing, okay? Maybe you're keto and you were like so diehard keto, and you told other people in your life that it was it, and you judged them for eating another way. And now suddenly you don't want to be keto anymore. And now, like, you want to decide to be different, and you're afraid of people judging you because either you were previously judged, or they told you it wouldn't work, or you judged other people, right? It's okay. Nothing is set in stone. You can decide something different for your life at any point in time. It doesn't matter what that label looks like. If somebody gave it to you, if you gave it to yourself, you have the power to change a label at any point in time. Like, gosh, even when it comes to like diets and eating, I don't even put a label on myself anymore. I used to. I've put so many labels. I've put so many labels on myself over the years. And it's okay to make a change. Your dietary habits, your exercise routine, the things that you like, the hobbies you enjoy, you can change your label at any point in time, or decide not to have any. And that's okay. And obviously I'm talking about like labels in the sense of like, you know what? I think this hits on a deeper topic though. Even if you've labeled were labeled your whole life as a woman, like, you can decide that you're a man. Like, it's, you don't have to fit the mold that society has tried to give you. And it's okay. You're beautiful and perfect exactly as you are. And if you don't feel that way with the current labels that you have, it's okay to remove them and change them. And you get to decide. And then communication is key, new moon in Gemini. This to me says that it's really important to communicate your needs and your boundaries and your desires with people that you care about. Like, I wouldn't say go out of your way to tell a bunch of other people what you're doing if they don't give a crap about you. But it is important to hold firm on your boundaries, even with people that you have to interact with that maybe don't always agree with you. And it takes practice, it takes energy, it takes effort, but you are 1000% allowed to do it. And then emotions are running high, super moon. This honestly tells me that over the next 6 months, you might feel like you're a little bit on an emotional high. You might feel like you're learning new things about yourself. You might feel like starting these new habits, these new routines can be a little bit hard. And that's okay. It's okay. Like, we are born out of the womb, or sometimes cesarean, okay? Or I was going to say out of the vagina, and then I was like, actually cesarean, actually just out of the womb. We are born out of the womb literally with the ability to cry. It's like the first thing that we do. And yet we spend our whole lives telling ourselves to stuff it down and not cry. Do you know how many animals out in the wild are born with something initially? Like, deer literally start walking out the womb, okay? Humans, what do we got? Cry. We can cry. And yet we tell everybody not to do it. Oh, let the baby cry it out. Oh, you're such a baby. Why are you crying about this? Oh, you're too sensitive. Oh, you're too much. No, You are going through massive up level and change over the next 6 months, and you cry as much as you want to about it. It's okay. Crying, if you didn't know, actually helps you to release the stress hormone of cortisol. It's one of the, like, I think there's like 2 ways that we release stress through the body like that, and crying is one of them. And then we wonder why we're all walking around so stressed out all the time. Let yourself cry. It's actually very healing. And then we also have for you take risk, and we have reflect. So take risk might have been why you chose this pile. And I want to say that, like, with taking risk, this doesn't have to be taking like dangerous risk or doing things that are really uncomfortable, that make you feel like you're in danger. And this is something I talk about a lot on my channel, is that we have safe uncomfortability. So we have the comfort zone, then we have safe uncomfortability, and then we have dangerous uncomfortability. Safe, like feeling in the comfort zone, we often don't grow in the comfort zone. Nothing really happens there, right? We're just comfortable. When we get into the zone just beyond the comfort zone, this is a safe uncomfortability. This is, I can do this. It's a little bit difficult, but it's not making me self-abandon. It's not leading me to have an anxiety or a panic attack. Like, it feels somewhat safe, but it's uncomfortable. And then there is dangerous uncomfortability, where we cannot be in our bodies. We are, way up or way down, or something doesn't feel correct about the situation we're in, and we can't even be present in the situation or the conversation or the activity. And that's where we don't want to go. We don't want to be in the dangerous level of uncomfortability. We want to go where it is safe. And this is why it's so important that even when you take risk, you take calculated risk over the next 6 months. So just remember that if you're feeling like out of your body, you're feeling like it's dangerous, that is a sign that you maybe have gone a little too far and we need to pull back a little bit. And then with reflect, this is also about that introspection, right? I told you, sit down with a pen and a notebook. This is just repeating that. You need to reflect inward, ask yourself what you want your day-to-day to look like, write it out, and then start picking things off that list that you can start doing today. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the book divination for you. We're going to just choose a random page from Alexandra Solnato. I'm so sorry, I'm messing it up. This book will be linked down below, but this is the Book of Light. Ask and Heaven will answer. Now, this book, I will say, it is like channeled messages from Jesus, but I always like to give warning on that, because I know some of my listeners, you might have trauma from religious indoctrination, and that's very real. Like, that's very real, and I myself have been through that, so I understand. So I just want to encourage you, if like the word God or Jesus comes up in here, you don't have to use those words. I think that the messages are still beautiful, even if we're not looking at them under that lens. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so you actually got a really short one, but it says, death. Do not fear death, my child, for everything is as it should be. Death is but another life, the platonic transformation between heaven and earth. Transformation and learning, effort and conviction are all part of the human soul. You die with the passing of each day, as each day becomes yesterday, only to be reborn the very next day. Ooh, I got the chills. I'm going to let that be my parting message for you, pile number 2. I hope that this reading helps you to create real positive change in your life over the next 6 months. I hope you feel like you have more confidence to get out of whatever rut you've maybe been stuck in. And please do not forget, when you stand in your own authenticity, you empower everyone around you to do the same. Don't forget to check out my Patreon if you want early access to all of these videos, weekly energy updates, and newly, we have started doing workshops on the new moon where I actually help you to manifest your desires. I talk to you about the astrological transits. We do a group meditation, and we just really work with the astrology of each month in order to transform our lives. So especially like if you need help with your exact birth chart and what you are currently transiting, it's a really great workshop to attend. We're doing one at the end of this month, but when you join the Patreon, you get like a slew of other things too. So definitely check it out. A link for that is down below. I would love to have you there. It certainly supports me as a creator. And on top of that, if you would like a little more content, I'm going to encourage encourage you to check out the podcast Divine Authenticity. It's available everywhere you listen to podcasts. I put out new episodes every Tuesday, but sometimes we do little sneaky Friday episodes as well. So sometimes it's twice a week, sometimes it's once a week, but I would love to have you listen in. If you would like to support me even further, I have my Cashapp, Venmo, and PayPal listed down below, as well as my wish list if you'd like to send me a gift. There is no expectation on those things, of course, but if you are feeling generous and like you would like to, and this reading helped you, I would certainly appreciate it. And on top of that, if you would like to book me for a personalized reading, I do have readings available on my website, KloeTaylor.com. And again, link is down below. And I love you so much, Pumpkin, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. All right, pile number 3. I'm so sorry. I actually had to re-record this part, just your pile. I've started to read it and then I looked over at my computer and my microphone, I swear it's because Mercury is about to be in freaking retrograde, but my microphone was just completely not registering your pile for whatever reason. And I did not want y'all to have bad audio. So I had to go back and do a little fixing, but hello, this is going to be your reading for what is going to help you transform your life in the next 6 months. And pile number 3, what I'm really hearing from Spirit is you are actually going on a deeply introspective journey. You've been feeling very apathetic about life right now. You have not been feeling very alive. And that doesn't mean that you've been feeling dead, but I do feel like there is a difference when you're engaging with life and you feel like on top of the world, right? It's a very different feeling versus feeling like you reach out and touch life and life doesn't touch you back. And it can be really hard. It can be really difficult to go through that. And I see that because we have the 4 of Potions, the 6 of Lightning, and the Moon here. And these cards tell me that you are going on a deeply introspective journey right now. And I don't think it's something that you wanted to do. I genuinely feel like this is something that has had to happen, but it's not necessarily something that you wanted, unfortunately. And I feel like this is something that's actually quite, I mean, it's difficult for anybody, but it's something that was kind of like forced on you, basically. This is not something that you were like, I'm going on a deeply introspective journey for 6 months. It was like, no, the universe just said, here you go. However, the thing I also want to point out is your significator for this pile was the void, which we will talk about this in a little bit, but the void is that. It is this liminal space of we don't know which direction to take. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know where we're going. We don't know how we're doing it, and we feel stressed out about that. And first of all, pile number 3, take it from somebody who has been there multiple times in their life. This is so normal. It's so normal. It sucks. Nothing anybody says is going to take this void away from you. The only thing that you can do at this time while you're experiencing this is to surrender to it, to surrender to the unknown, to allow yourself to just float instead of thinking about tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day. How can you focus your intention on today and just letting yourself sink into this? And some of you might love an introspective journey. Some of you might like, maybe it's y'all with like, I swear it's water moons. Water moons, if you have a water moon, which is going to be Cancer moon, Scorpio moon, or Pisces moon, if y'all got a water moon, I feel like y'all love an introspective journey. But some people hate that. They don't want to be in that. They don't want to feel caught up in that. And oftentimes the void, I don't care what your moon sign is, this is difficult. Voids are not easy. They're a time period where we feel really disconnected from the things that we once loved or the hobbies that we once cherished. And it can feel really debilitating. But Spirit is saying if you allow yourself to go through this initiation, because that is what the 6 of Lightning says, it's an initiation back into allowing yourself to become alive again, to feel alive again. That is going to help you transform, is when you surrender to it and allow it to happen. The Emperor and the Nine of Pumpkins tell me that you're actually going to come out of this with a much better idea of what your long-term goals are. And you might actually come out of it with a little bit more money. The Nine of Pumpkins is all about like abundance, and not just having a little abundance. It's having enough money to care for yourself and also spoil the people around you, and also like relax, not be so stressed out all the time. So I love that. And on top of that, I started to play this TikTok for y'all in the first recording, and I still want to play it. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. If not, it's by Hood Winkler, and I might have to like overlay the video or something. If this is something that gets me, like if I get in trouble for putting this in my video, I will take this chunk of the video down. So just know that it's by Hood Winkler on TikTok if you need to go look it up. But this is the TikTok. My best friend sent this to me, and it was so appropriate for what I was dealing with at the time. And I think for you, pile number 3, this is going to be really appropriate. So
have you ever noticed that right before you're about to manifest something, your life gets really shitty? You have a falling out with your entire friend group. You get fired brutally from your job. Your car breaks down 13 times. Let me explain why that's happening. Before we get started, hi, I'm Jackie. I'm a manifestation coach. If you want to book a session with me or get one of my workbooks, you can go to my website, hoodwinkler.com. Okay, here's what's going on. It's really as simple as this. If you are asking for a new life, you cannot keep your old one. Here's you. Say you are asking for a new job. There's you at your new job. You currently are working at your old job that you've worked at for like 10 years. It gives you money, it gives you security. It essentially gives you everything you need, except it's not what you want to do. You are having trouble, that's supposed to be a chain, not looking like a chain at all. You're having trouble letting go of this, but you're asking for this. You're saying, universe, I'm fucking ready to receive this. But you're caught onto that. So the universe will hear you. Here's the universe. And what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll fucking absolutely destroy this so that you have no choice but to move forwards into what you're asking for. Your friends that you currently have are, I don't know, drinking and smoking and partying all the time, and that doesn't really align with you. And you're asking for new friends who have different hobbies. If you are having trouble separating from these guys, then the universe will definitely come in and fucking fuck it up. You'll have a falling out so that you can finally move towards where you want to go. Saying it gets worse before it gets better is often true. Your life might suck for a little bit, but you just have to breathe through it and trust that what you want is coming through. Stress not, fair want. Take care of yourself and create those new realities that you're asking for. It's not going to happen on its own, not going to happen magically. You have to put in the work. If you're not putting in the work, God will put in the work for you, and it will hurt. So
that's the tea. That's the tea. That's the shade. That's the pink lemonade. You are going through this because where you want to go essentially will cost you the life that you've had. And I've experienced this even recently myself. So please know that you are not alone in this. And it's funny, actually, as I was coming out of the situation I had been in and getting better, that was when like the things in my life that I had a lot of attachment to, the people I had attachment to, really the universe just came in like a lightning rod and took them out. And not like killed them or took them out like that, but like just took them out of my life. And I asked for it. I was like, universe, if there are people in my life that are not in alignment with me right now, make them leave. Like, trust that your spiritual team and the universe, you are protected. They care about you. And I say that because I believe that for each individual. Like, I believe that everybody has a team that really protects them, supports them, wants the best for them. And you have that too. You are no exception. So rest assured that if things feel like they're falling apart, if you feel like you're sitting in this void space right now where everything doesn't make sense, your life is in shambles, Spirit is saying you kind of just need to breathe through it and let it happen. And then we have Transmute, which I love this because this card reminds me of the card of alchemy. And alchemy is literally about transmuting lead into gold, transmuting a negative into a positive. And that's what you're going through. You're going through this difficult transformation right now because it's going to eventually serve you in a way that you cannot see right now. But down the line, you will, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I was taken out of this situation. I'm so grateful that these people are no longer in my life. You might even be in the middle of this right now. You could already be in the middle of your 6 months. Like, But Spirit is saying, like, for the next 6 months, or it could be less if you've already been in it, but Spirit is saying you need to continue to trust the process that you're in. We have, what do you need to release? Again, things moving out of your life. It's time to release negativity. And we have, your dreams need a practical plan, which is funny because you also got the Emperor, which to me is somebody that plans for their future. And you're not at the planning stage right now. Spirit is saying that is like you're not supposed to be planning and like thinking about stuff like that right now. You're meant to be releasing, letting go, clearing out people, clearing out, especially during Virgo season. Ooh, Virgo is the sign, which is what we're in right now in tropical astrology. Virgo is the sign of like cleanliness. And if you think for a second, cleaning out your house, your spaces, your friendships, your mindsets isn't going to immediately drop new mindsets, new people, new things in your home into your life and make room, like you need to make room for that expansion, the expansion that's taking place for you. So release the things that aren't serving. And, I know I always want to take it down the psychological thread because I know that so many of y'all struggle, myself included. I know that there are so many that suffer, and we can't always just put a pretty bow on everything with tarot. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And codependency and trauma bonds are real, especially when it comes to being in relationships that really aren't healthy for us. And I'm hearing that for some of you during this transformation, you will lose people in your life that you thought would be there forever. And it's not because they are bad people. It is because either one of two things. Either they are not toxic, but they are toxic for you and the direction you're going, which are two different things. Like somebody can not be toxic, but be toxic for you and the kind of person that you are. Or number two, you potentially could be the toxic person and they need to go in a new direction and you need to up level where you are and not have these kinds of attachments or behaviors that are hurting you. And like I said, it could be either or there, and I'm just keeping it real with y'all. I'm not trying to say that you're toxic and you're terrible. I honestly think even that word, like being toxic, I don't even know if I think toxic people are real. I think it's traumatized people, to be honest with you. And I don't think that's talked about enough in today's society. And maybe we should start a new conversation. But ultimately, this is for your evolution to release these kinds of bonds, these unhealthy coping mechanisms, things that are no longer going to serve you in the direction that you're going. And for the next 6 months, you just need to surrender to this process. And when you feel ready, not because you're forcing yourself out, but when you feel ready, that's when you can finally start to plan for it. That's when you can finally start to ask yourself what you do want, when you actually have new ideas of what you think you're going to want in your life, right? So now we're going to go ahead and get into some book divination from this book by Alexandra Solnato. This book, I will tell you, I always feel like I need to put this disclaimer here. It is Ask and Heaven Will Answer. So if you deal with like religious indoctrination that was really traumatizing, I myself am a survivor of that. So I totally understand if like something like this is just not up your alley. I would encourage that you just, if like the words God or Jesus or anything come up, just replacing them with something else, because I do believe that the messages are still extremely helpful, but they're not like, it's not like reading scriptures or anything. But I just wanted to put that disclaimer in here because I know that that is very real, and I would never want somebody to come to my video and be triggered by something that I've done. So, I mean, obviously I know I can't always predict what everybody's going through, but I feel like with religious trauma, because it's also so tied to me in that way, I always want to point that out. Okay, you got Yang, and this one is a little lengthy. That's funny because you actually got like the shortest tarot card reading because I'd already started reading it once and had to re-record, but your book divination is long. So Yang is for fighting, but what are you fighting for? If I am always telling you to abandon your ego, if I am always asking you to reduce that Yang energy, which is more provocative, more advanced, and more focused on struggle, if I am always asking you to moderate it, why does it exist in matter? Why do men carry yang energy in equal proportion to yin energy? Which is more placid, more spiritual, more receptive? Why does it exist with such intensity? The answer is simple. Let me explain. Man does not come to earth simply to be happy. This is not what is expected of him. Man comes to earth to work on himself, to work through his fears and his discomforts, in other words, to work on his limitations. Each fear and each discomfort is an energetic block provoked by karmic memory, by the memory of a trauma suffered in another lifetime. Each of these emotional blockages may be overcome. The man who is able to overcome these emotional blockages and does not accumulate any more within this lifetime is actually preparing to ascend. So if a being comes to earth to undo these blockages, what does he need to do? He needs to experience them, live them, understand them, and accept them. When he does this, when he really faces his difficulties, something begins to gradually change. Once this being becomes aware of his fear, he removes the strength it had over him. Hence, it is not difficult to guess what happens to people's fears when they decide to face them. They purely and simply start to disappear. And where does yang come into the story? Where can we find strength, will, and sometimes even a little ego? In the decision to face one's fears, to face difficulties head on, and to work through them until they no longer hold any meaning. Continuous verbal aggression will end up losing its power. Once you have confronted your fear a few times, it too loses its power. This sounds like the theory of pain, the idea that suffering is good for you, doesn't it? There is, however, a huge difference. Until now, it was said that suffering made men horrible. Men suffered to be worthy. He believed that through suffering he would gain dignity. Notice how he is thinking from the outside in. Man believed that the act of suffering could make him into a certain type of person. But the truth is that things happen in the reverse order. First you are, and then you act in accordance with who you are. You don't become a certain person just because you behave in a certain way. As I have said, these men suffered so they could become something. They worked from the outside in. Today, when I ask you to face your pain, I'm not asking you to make yourself suffer. I'm asking you not to run away from pain. If it comes knocking on your door, I want you to face it. I want you to go through it. I want you to allow yourself to feel the pain in the center of your heart, to go to the very depths of your pain without victimizing yourself and without feeling that others are to blame. Acknowledge that you are responsible for it, and that what you are going through is a consequence of past life actions or emotions. This is why we need yang. This is why you need courage, the courage to show your fragility and to keep dealing with the pain until you stop hurting. You stop hurting not because you have rationalized things and think it would be best to channel your energy elsewhere. You stop hurting because you have taken You stop hurting not because you have taken an antidepressant to numb the pain. You stop hurting not because you hide away from your own reality by praying endlessly to God to resolve your problems, but because you have had the courage to stay, to let yourself feel the pain, to feel it so deeply that it becomes part of you. Until one day it no longer exists. It scatters like a cloud, dissolves above the ocean. The pain came, you guided it, and it disappeared. This is what yang is for. This is why the ego exists. So that in the midst of darkness, you can fill yourself with light and say, I deserve to be happy. I like myself enough to choose to remain here, motionless, allowing the pain to completely engulf me so that it can leave me forever. I deserve to be happy. And when this pain is over, I know that I have conquered another place in heaven. That is what courage is for. Oh, I'm sorry. That makes me want to cry. That was just a really beautiful passage. The difference between experiencing a painful situation in the transcendental form and in the spiritual form is as follows. In the traditional form, a person believes that he is the victim of fate, that he is being harmed for no reason, and that he has no control over the situation. In the spiritual form, however, the person knows that if he is hurting, it is because he needs to work through things. So he tries to go through the experience over and over again until he reaches the point where he has dealt with the situation so many times that his heart opens and he overcomes his emotional blockages. I'm sorry, that one hit home a little too closely for me. Maybe some of you too. I'm not going to choose to speak on it right now, but probably on a podcast in the future. I'm definitely going through something similar right now where a pattern in my own life has resurfaced and I'm choosing what I'm going to do with that. And it's really hard. But like I said, that's a story for another time right now. And I'm sure that we've all felt that. I also want to say that that line about it's not about taking antidepressants. I just want to make a note on that if you take antidepressants, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's okay. And I'm a firm believer that though I do think that we sometimes overprescribe medications in this world right now and just in general, and that there is so much more to the healing of every individual from like a whole body perspective, I still think that there's no shame in taking those things. And sometimes we need them as a life raft to get back down to a baseline so that we can even start to heal. And there's no shame in needing something like that to help you. So just wanted to add that because I noticed that there was a line in there about like not taking depressants to like avoid your pain. But I don't think it's always about that. Sometimes we can't even allow ourselves to feel the pain because we just don't feel safe to do it. In any case, thank you so much for tuning in, pile number 3. I love you. I appreciate you. You're doing a good job. If no one's told you today, please know that you are loved, you are appreciated, you are part of this community. And I don't say these things to like pander to anybody. I say them because I mean them. And I love humans so much. And please just know that you are so loved with whatever you're struggling with right now. And over the next 6 months, it might get difficult. There might be time periods that are still hard, but ultimately this is an initiation and this will pass. This too will pass. And it's not really about you needing to find one specific thing or a routine or a new hobby. It's that you need to allow the old life to fall away, and that's going to hurt a little bit, but then the new life can come. And please do not forget, when you stand in your own authenticity, you empower everyone around you to do the same. Don't forget to check out my Patreon if you want to support me more as a creator. We have weekly energy updates. I'm now teaching workshops over there. We manifest with the new moon as a group. I teach you based on your own personal astrology how to do that, how to use the new moons for your advantage. And we did one last month and it was really awesome. So we're doing another one this month for the Libra new moon at the end of the month. You also get a bunch of other stuff when you join the Patreon. So it's like not just that, you get a library of like something like almost 300 things. Like you get a ton of stuff and I add to it every single week. So definitely check it out. It really supports me as a creator. And if you would like to leave me a tip or send me a gift, I have my Cashapp, Venmo, PayPal, and my wish list down below for you. No expectation, but if this helps you out, it's certainly appreciated. I also have my podcast, Divine Authenticity, if you would like to listen to it. New episodes every Tuesday. And through September, I think we're doing a Tuesday and a Friday episode. So we're actually putting a lot on the podcast right now because I've just been really chatty as of late. So I've been recording a lot of podcasts. And I also have my website if you'd like to book a personalized reading with me. It's KloeTaylor.com, just like it's spelled here. So you can book me for a personal reading. And I love you so much, Pumpkin. And I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.